Good morning. Hello, everybody. How's it going? It is 10 o'clock almost. It's 9:43. And it's a lovely day. It's spring. Oh my God. It's like the birds are chirping. People are suntanning. It's a pool party. It's time to barbecue. It's time to get the aerobics going and start looking for like nature and birds and all kinds of stuff. It is springtime. Yeah. So, on the subject of getting outside, I bought comic books. I eBayed like 4 graphic novels and it turned out to be like $90. But that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. I feel like, in the realm of things that have inspired me and made me who I am today, I would be nowhere without Sonic and his various media types. Not just his games. We're talking about a mascot. He was in everything. So let's get into it. First, I want to talk about those comics I bought. The Archie Sonic comics were my introduction to the comic book world of comic collecting. And the first comic book I ever really got hooked on was the Archie comic in 2012. And it was like issue 237, I think. It was the one where he's like in the Aztec temple and, they're looking for cat people. And, it was a cool issue. Like, Dr. Robotnik had a death egg that was going to nuke everything, and they had to stop him and chase him. That was right before they did the Mega Man crossover. And, man, that was the best era for Archie Sonic, I think. That was like right when it was the best. But then, I started reading the older comics and checking out like the pack issues and stuff, and the Sonic Archives collection. So I used to have more, and I had started collecting again and got I want to say like 9 books or something, but I don't have a complete set, and so now I'm like, okay, I got a little bit of money. I'm going to finish this collection. I'm going to get all of them that are actually printed. Because, that's the thing about comics is like, it is kind of like a collector kind of hobby. You want the physical media. You want it in print. You want to hold it. You want whatever you can get. And, that was always a comic that it's bumpy. It's not a perfect comic, and there's definitely like some wacky shit going on. It's got a lot of like ups and downs, but my favorite thing about it is the variety of artists and how they draw Sonic. And I always like that, you could kind of tell who was your favorite. One of my favorite people I've met is the artist on Sonic. His name is Steven Butler. He'd been a penciler for like, I want to say 15 years or something like that. Like, he started in the 90s and stopped doing it in the 2010s. And that guy, I've got so much advice on the creative business from that guy. I messaged him way back in like 2010, 2013, somewhere around there. And he responds. He actually, talked to me. And, I was just trying to, like, get my foot in the door. And I ended up doing the whole indie thing. And, the guy, he's a good guy. If you ever want to talk to a real pro, Steven Butler worked in Marvel and did indie comics for First. And, yeah, he's a good dude. And with Archie, you had Spaz, you had what was that one guy who did who did some of this stuff. He was like, I want to say J Axel. Yeah, J Axel. J Axel or J Axer, something like that. Is J Axer, I think. That guy had like an anime style that was really cool. Very 2000s anime. And that's the thing about it's a 20-year going on comic, and it just had such a cool run. I also, now this is the beginning of my love for Sonic. The thing that really got me hooked on Sonic was the TV shows. And, growing up as a kid in the 90s, I had all three of them. Sonic, Adventures of Sonic, Sonic Sat AM, and Sonic Underground. And at a certain point, they would play all three of them all at once on TV. And I grew up with the Adventures one, and that's why it's my favorite one. Tails became my favorite character because he was a self-insert for me. I was a younger brother, and, I really related to his whole, like, I want to be cool, and I want to be, like, as badass as Sonic. That was something that was just so goddamn well portrayed in the early cartoons. And, Sonic Underground, it's cheesy by today, and it's very, like, dated. Like, there's a lot of sexism in it. But, it's got a warm place in my heart for how blatantly 90s it was. And the animation also got a lot better from all three of them. I think that one looks like the most clean. Everybody loves Sonic Sat AM. Everybody is a fan of that show. And I know why. I mean, like, I've got it on DVD. And that show, it really is epic. Like, if I could describe that show, it's, like, grand and, really, almost deep. It has a lot of really dark themes. It has a lot of really good writing. And, there's a push to get that show turned into, like, a season 3 or something like that. And, the fan base behind Sat AM, I mean, we would not have Archie Sonic comics without Sat AM. Just saying. Like, the entire Archie Sonic comic is a continuation of Sat AM. And, the characters in those shows, that show in particular, were really well created. Like, they were well-rounded characters. I really like Rotor. I really like Sally, Bunny. Like, they are strong written characters. Even Antoine gets pretty well portrayed in the comics. And on the other side, of course, we have the games. I didn't have a Genesis as a kid. I had to sneak to my friend's house to play Sonic 2 and 3. And, man, like, what a better rivalry in gaming history than the 90s with Nintendo and Sega. I had Super Mario World, and I love Mario. He's great. I would get a Switch if someone gave it to me, or if I had, like, free $300, I would buy one. I have no beef with Nintendo. I really don't. I like Nintendo a lot. I like Mario a lot. But Sega was just cooler. I mean, that was its whole marketing push. If you see the commercials, it's making fun of Nintendo, like, all the time. And, it's kind of endearing, Sonic was all about attitude. He was all about, like, not giving a shit and being too cool. And, that kind of isn't present now, I feel like the Sonic Frontiers game is a bit melancholy and a bit sad and a bit serious. I mean, I like where they're going with it, but feels kind of angsty, a little bit edgy. But the 90s, it was just like so much fun. And the Sonic, games were colorful and bright and poppy and had pop music. And I really liked Mania. Sonic Mania was like return to that. It was like if they just made more of those, Sonic would be on top of the world right now. Like, everybody wants that version of Sonic. Everybody wants the pop Sonic. Everybody wants the 90s, like, Fly Girls and Living Color Sonic. So, I want to play Frontiers. It looks good. But, it does look kind of moody, And then, in the Dreamcast days, played Sonic Adventure, and that game, honestly, Sonic Adventure, I think, is my favorite Sonic game. It's not as good as Sonic 2, and Sonic 2 is probably, like, my favorite Sonic game on the 2D era, but, Sonic Adventure has just got so many things I love. Like the soundtrack and the story and the actual modes. I could get lost in Sonic Adventure, and it lasts a lot longer than Sonic 2. It's a bigger game, but the games, the cartoons. It's a long series, so it's had like 6 cartoons now. It had Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Sat AM, Underground, then it had Sonic X, then it had Sonic Boom, and then it had recently Sonic Prime. And, the last 3 cartoons, I'm hit or miss about it. I'm not a fan of Sonic X. I've tried to get into that show like 5 times. Maybe I'll watch it through, but it's a hard show for me to get into. And then I love Sonic Boom. I think the jokes in Sonic Boom are hilarious. It's just such a it's made with so much like dry humor that I'm rolling in my chair, and I feel like adults would really get the jokes. There's a couple of poop and fart jokes, but for the most part the writing is really funny. And then we finally have Sonic Prime, and I think that show has the best action in a Sonic show. Like, bar none. Like, the action in that show is great. Has tons of awesome fights, but, it's like missing an ending, and it just sort of ends on a cliffhanger, and didn't have much of a resolution, It just sort of stops. Like crashes into a wall, kind of stops. And then finally we got the movies. Man, okay. So I really like the Sonic OVA. I know it's weird. I know it's a wacky cartoon, but that was considered the movie for the time. And then we finally get the big budget Hollywood movie. And at first it looked terrible. We were all worried. We were like, oh, it's going to kill the franchise. It's going to suck. And the fans won. We complained so much that they fixed the CGI. And man, it saved it. It went from being like the worst thing that could happen to Sonic to being the best thing that could happen to Sonic. It had so much funny lines. Jim Carrey completely sold me on being Dr. Robotnik. I know he didn't look like Dr. Robotnik, but his performance was great, and I just had such a fun time seeing him like back, like 90s Jim Carrey again. I missed that so much. And then the sequel was bigger and better, had everything I wanted. Knuckles was awesome. It had the best voice actor for Knuckles, bar none. And we got Super Sonic in the movie. Like, we had everything in the sequel. Like, if you like the first movie, it sets up the second movie. And then by the second movie, it's like, okay, this is awesome. I'm having a blast. Yeah, Sonic 2 was one of my favorite movies of last year. So, and then we got the Super Mario movie because of those movies. So things are going pretty good for Sonic right now. Um, you know, People seem to really like Sonic Frontiers. The soundtrack is like anime as fuck. Really like got that whole anime OP sounding song, Vandalize, and it had some thrash metal for one of the boss fights. It's like, they're really going for like angst in the new Sonic, modern Sonic stuff. I feel like, okay, the story, I don't know the whole story, but like all Sonic's friends are captured and Sonic is trapped on a new island. It just seems so depressing. I'm down for it. It's a cool story and it's written by Ian Flynn, so it's good. But it just feels like, man, this is more of a deeper, darker kind of direction. Sonic Forces, I actually thought that game was okay. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was just like, it was all right. You know what I mean? It was okay. It was like, what if you just went on autopilot and, I don't know, it was your first game or something. I think Sonic is great for like, introducing people to video games. Like it's a family game, you know what I mean? It's good game to give to your kids. But I think that Sonic Generations is probably the best 3D Sonic. I think that's pretty unanimous. So I don't know. This was a really rambly episode. I just wanted to kind of blab about Sonic today. I bought so many comics. I bought like $90. I bought like 4 trades of Sonic comics, and they're not cheap. They're like $30 a pop. So I wanted to share one of my favorite franchises. It's a bit bumpy. The fans are kooky, and young. Like the fans, they make new games for new fans, so it recycles. It's like I grew up with Sonic in the '90s, but my generation is faded out. So it's like, I feel like Sonic is definitely gonna continue to be a family friendly kind of icon mascot, but yeah. I still love Sonic and just wanted to blab, just blab about Sonic. So I will see you guys. I will catch you on the next one. Not sure when, but you'll be back later.